Is it too dark?
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel where I talk about career and productivity. And yes, to this video, coming towards this video, we'll be talking about when is the right time to change your career. Ideally, there is no right time, but we will get to know some of the great experiences for our guest, Reshma, who has transitioned from software engineer to a business analyst to a corporate trainer, and now she is a CEO of her own business. So, with her 10 years of experience, she has learned a lot and she is going to bring a lot of experience to our table. And based on that, we'll learn something and definitely take a good and positive note from this video, because I'm on agenda to make you familiar with real life experiences, that it's not only you who is facing this problem, it's all of us who deal with such kind of experience. So over to you, Reshma. We would definitely love to know your journey so far, how you have transitioned your career, and what are your learnings from it.
Hey Aditi, thank you so much for having me and doing this entire thing, because I think it's really important for people to look at different career paths and see what works for them the best. So a little bit of introduction about how my entire career has transitioned over the years. So I finished my college in 2011. I was an electrical electronics engineer, but soon out of college, I actually got an opportunity to train other college students for their placements, and that was like a brief part-time stint. I did it for a few months while I was actually trying out for jobs myself. And then I landed a job in Verizon as a software engineer. Cut to 9 months later, I was being trained for the role of a business analyst because my communication was great. But somehow I just didn't want to stay in a 9 to 5, sitting behind a computer. I realized that was not what I enjoyed, which is when I realized training was something I truly loved. And it was time for me to make that part-time thing into a full-time thing. So I went into freelance and I trained at a lot of colleges for a lot of years before moving into corporate training. Initially, I did consultant training with a lot of colleges and then with companies as well. And that's how my corporate training career began. I worked as a consultant with quite a few big companies, big profile companies, and then moved into a full-time role myself. And I worked for 5 years in a full-time role in two different organizations. Again, amazing organizations where I got to learn so much more about the corporate culture, but this time in a role that made this entire journey really amazing in the training field. And then from there, I am now the owner of my own business, because I realized that that is what I would really want to do. I wanted to get back to training, doing the kind of training that I really enjoy, helping people my way, again, rather than being in a job and doing something that probably doesn't align with my vision in the way of helping people. So that's where I am right now, which is the owner of the Marathi Hub, where we help people to become effective communicators, whichever line of work they are in, and confidently, effectively speak to people anywhere, anytime, at any situation, to anyone. And that's hopefully a brief introduction from my for my entire career transition.
Yes, yes, definitely. Like to all, everybody, like whosoever asked me that from where I have learned my communication skills and my content strategy. So I have definitely learned a lot from Reshma. She has been my first guide who has, brought of my mistakes and let me know and learn the things. So if you are someone who is thinking to improve your communication, or you feel uncomfortable talking to people, you have some conversational problem, then you can definitely contact Reshma. I would provide the link of her Instagram and the email where you can definitely contact her. So to this, like, I heard your journey and I have known you for a long time. Like, I can completely retaliate to your journey, like doing a engineering, like a very common thing. Like if you have chosen science and mathematics, then you are supposed to do engineering. Like same, I have got the same kind of journey as well. So like, what was the moment where you felt that software engineering is not something which you look up for your long term career, rather you wanted to be into communication? Like you said that you were too good in communication, which you are definitely. So how did you identify that? Because that is the very important process for an individual to identify that what exactly I'm good at. So how did you did that?
Sure. So I think in the course of the 9 months at Verizon, I was doing well in my job. I did a lot of great work and I learned how, the corporate functions and things like that. And I happened to attend a training inside Verizon where it was about presentations and everything. In corporates as well, you're supposed to attend some trainings. So I realized and I looked at the corporate trainers and said, hey, I was doing this 6 months ago and this seems like the right kind of thing to do instead of going all technical, which was anyway not something that I enjoyed.
Hmm.
Right, the coding, the development, the testing was definitely not my cup of tea. Though business analyst role was definitely interesting, the entire aspect of just doing this back end work, I think, kind of made me realize that this is not the kind of lifestyle I probably want to lead. I really enjoyed, and which is when I realized that I was really passionate about training. I missed training. Looking at those corporate trainers, I realized this could actually be the right kind of role for me down the line. It might not happen immediately, but I can actually work towards what they were doing and do a kick-ass job of it. And that is
Hmm.
when I think it made the shift. I, talked to my father, who was extremely supportive. Not usually parents aren't, because a full-time job
Yes.
that's paying you at the end of the month and going into freelance training, which is an absolutely new field. And 2011 freelancing wasn't honestly anything that people chose to do. Right now, it's all the craze of hustle and everything, but it wasn't when I started freelance. So it was a huge risk from my end. But I think because I was passionate about training, I realized that, though I could be good at the software job, I could do amazing there. This is what I was really interested in. So I hope that answers your question.
Actually, that answers my question because I'm too into software development, and there are so many my friends even they are working under peer pressure, maybe because of salary. Because like you can see, like in IT, we hear that in the coding and everything, we've got a lot of good salary, handsome packages we get.
Absolutely.
That is true, but if you're not passionate about, you cannot drive that amount of money as well. So many people are either coming in peer pressure or parental pressure, or they are coming with respect to the money. I would say, to be very frank, they are thinking
Yeah.
that okay, that person is earning this much, so I would also do and start coding, and so that I can also earn. So I think this kind of rat race should be avoided. And if you are
Absolutely.
someone who are doing this for the sake of rat race, for the sake of person, if you are seeing, and who is when we see people who is on the higher position than us, then don't do this. Just skip this
Yeah.
process, like of copying someone or following the rat race. And I like completely appreciate your thing, like you took a right decision on a very fertile mode. Like there was no craze of freelancing at that moment, and glad your parents were supportive, because at this time, being a girl and starting a freelancing thing, it's a really tough job, and without parent support, it's unbelievable. So to this, like what kind of like mindset shift this decision took? Like what kind of
I
mindset problems you had, what kind of issues you were dealing with? Because it's very normal. Let's talk about the fallbacks. Let's talk about the mindset problem which we were dealing with
absolutely.
that time, because I want to make all of my students aware that this is normal to feel sad, to feel
Yeah.
depressed when you are falling down. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think when I wanted to shift, I realized that there was going to be a challenge in terms of financial aspects, right? The independence factor that a full-time job gave in wouldn't be the same when you're doing freelance, because training as a freelance option was also very seasonal. It depends on the
Correct.
placement times, when actually placement happens. So you will see months of lull where there's actually no training. So
Hmm.
I would say that I was looking ahead to doing something. So, and I was jumping into it without a lot of support in terms of knowing who others are doing, knowing what actually people are doing in the training industry. So I think that was one thing. But I feel the support eventually from my friends, from my family, kind of made me realize this is something that I can do. And I think we need to understand that you're always going to face a low path, you're always going to face a lull, but that doesn't mean that you can't get over it and can't learn. So it took me about 2 years into freelance training to figure
Okay.
out how the entire span works, which months are going to be great in terms of work, in which months are going to be absolutely no work. You know what? And that actually made me love training, because 3 months I could just work like crazy, and then 2 months I would have absolute off. I could watch
Hmm.
travel, watch movies. So I started actually saving in a better way, right?
Hmm.
And financially also, I ensured that before I get into this training space, I have a little bit of money that I had saved away, which I know would tide me through in case there is absolutely no work coming my way. I think these are certain things that you need to think about. But at the end of the day, doing it because you're willing to go through the bad times and the good times is of key. Because if you're not actually if you don't actually want to do it, then the tough times become extremely difficult to go through, right? And I can kind of relate this even with my entrepreneur journey right now. If this is not something you truly want to do, it becomes really difficult to tide by the difficult times. So going in with the right mindset is of key importance.
Completely makes sense. I think the way you planned it, like you wanted to be it like that. You had a picture in your mind that being a trainer, I need to work for 3 hours, I need to work for 3 months, I need to not work for 2 months. So that was the choice which you made, and you were happy with that.
Absolutely.
So I think the kind of choices which we are making in our life should make us happy, should be the core agenda. And like that I can see, like not many people will be comfortable doing this, like 3 months
Yeah,
continuous working and then 2 minutes 2 months off. Like people like me won't be able to do this. Like it's a huge thing. Like if you're bringing this kind of mindset or this kind of change in your life, you should be happy with that, and you should be adjustable with that. So, like in your conversation, while you were describing this answer, you mentioned about the financial thing. So, like, I want to understand, like, obviously, when we are starting out something, when we are freelancing, there are some of the financial problem. Like I think when you left your high paying job in the corporate, there we have a
yeah,
system that every month some amount will be deposited and we then function in that way. But in this freelancing thing, this is very difficult. Some days you will get more, some days you will get less, some days nothing. So how did you invested in your business, and how did you, and what kind of lesson would you tell to the people? Suppose in pandemic, if I say, many of them have lost their job as well. So
hmm.
how we should be prepared for the uncertainty, maybe because of our choice and maybe because of other choice. So what kind of thoughts you have for this?
Okay. So, looking right now, the business perspective, because I've left an extremely high paying job right now, last year, as of March 2021, I left the job. So, going from that to this, I think I had about 8 months in the last 8 months of my job that I was looking forward to already leaving. I had started thinking about my business and doing the groundwork and the research that was required. So, I knew that if I let go of this job, then I need to be okay with absolutely having no income, let's say for a year or two, and still be able to manage by myself. So, which means that I had to heavily save a huge amount of money
Hmm.
that I was earning and keep that as an emergency fund, and to tide by investing into my business the monthly expenses that go into running a business, whether it's getting help from outside, whether it's a lot of tools that we buy for the business itself. So
Hmm.
being able to invest, so at least the groundwork was taken care of for a year or two if required. And then so
Correct.
that anything that comes in as revenue for the business is an absolute great thing, because then it goes back into the business, right? I think
Right.
getting into that, so I believe that you need to understand what your market is, which area your, which niche it is, and know if it's going to take 6 months or a year to build a business. Sometimes we get into all these people like saying that instantly they received a lot of money, but the question is how sustainable it is and how consistently you're earning. So to be prepared for that, I would always say, figure out, does it take 6 months or a year or 2 years to actually streamline everything and be in a comfortable space again. So that
Hmm.
is one method. Another option that I also had in mind was, if I started to make at least 50% of what I was making from my business that I was getting, and I think over the year I was able to, or in a quarter I was able to get at least 70%, I was able to earn back that I was actually would have gotten in terms of salary. So that is a great way to look at it and decide if it's the right time for you to quit and start go full time into the business. So but having that emergency fund and being able to sustain your business or your work for that time that is required to stabilize it, I think that is of key importance here.
Great, great. Like, I think you have planned everything so smartly, to which you're having that smile on your face. Like, you're not regretting, like, going back to your job. And like people do, like, people would see another person and he is an entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur. It's like very trending nowadays. Everybody wants to be
Yeah,
CEO of their business. But we need to understand that if that other person is doing, then we need to understand our requirement. Are we capable of such kind of risk? Like the kind of risk
absolutely.
you invested 2 years learning that skill, and then you have taken again a risk of leaving a high paying job and then moving towards this dam where nothing is built and you need to create your own building. So that's like super super amazing, and it's so inspiring, and this is the reason I always look forward to you. So coming towards the like end of conversation, like we have talked a lot and you have inspired with your words with so much that a good plan is a must. Like we
Yes.
need to be aware with what we will bring onto table, like after 3 years if we are switching or changing our job, then what kind of things can be changed, and we need to be aware of those things, right?
Yeah.
So anything else you would like to give suggestion to our students? Like there are two kinds of people: one who is doing the career transition, like from software developer they're moving to different zone, like from to
Hmm.
management. Then there are people who are just leaving their jobs. So what kind of suggestion you would give to them?
Okay. For the first kind, for people who are transitioning, I would always say look at people who've done this, who have done this over years and where they are and where they are currently. Look at where they've grown and how they've grown. That actually will give you an insight of is that what you want to be 5 years down the line? Is that the line that you would like to take? And if
Correct.
that is, then go for it. Learn, work on it, implement it. It's just not about getting another degree or doing another certification. It's about actually doing the work and implementing so that those skills are going to be of use to you when you transition, right? And I think transition, people think that, oh, maybe it's too late, I shouldn't maybe switch my lane, especially now that I'm in such a good position, I should probably just run with it. But always understand that it's okay. It's better late than never to do that change, because then you don't want to think, oh, I should have done this a few years ago, right? And for example, I'm glad that I switched to training way back 10 years ago, because now looking at my career path, I'm happy that it is where it is right now, instead of if I waited a few more years to get more income or just more stabilized in my job then. And that is where I look at it: the sooner the better. And if you've decided, if you feel that this is it, then go for it. Do all the groundwork. Work on your core competencies, your knowledge, your skills, your attitude, and then make that transition. And I'm sure that will be like a successful transition. For people who want to let go, who want to leave jobs and get into this freelance mode, like I said, one thing is you need to understand why you're doing it. Know the reasons why you're doing it. If you're going for all the wrong reasons to earn quick money, to make quick progress, then honestly, it is not sustainable in the long run.
Correct.
You need to want to be able to do it, but otherwise, it's very difficult to go through the tough times. So that is of key importance. Another thing, people, there are a lot of people who say corporate life is not great, and which is why I want to quit and move. But I will say this, that there is so much to learn in a full-time job that you wouldn't learn being a freelancer or a business owner. And I am glad for the 5 to 6 years of corporate life that I had in these last
Hmm.
10 years of freelance. And because you know what, everything I've learned, there's so much that I'm able to implement in my business because of what I learned in my corporate career. When I was leaving, I was like, no, I'm done with this. I just don't want to live this in this corporate life anymore. But trust me, there's so much that we get to learn. There's exposure to so many things
Hmm.
that we kind of are blind to while we are there. So I would say, don't leave it for all the wrong reasons. Leave it for
Hmm.
the right reasons, learn what you need to, and then make a very informed decision. Yeah. So I think this should help, and hopefully that will help you make a great career choice and move ahead successfully.
Absolutely, absolutely. The points which you brought on the table were so fascinating. I would say, like, don't go for wrong decisions. Like, quick, like people who are tending to go for quick money, quick growth, quick progress. There is nothing quick. Everything needs a process, time to, grow. Even a tree, takes time, and we need to feed it continuously. Then it becomes a tree after an year, and then only it gives us results in form of fruits and flowers. So treat yourself like that only, and stay grounded, and don't hesitate to work on yourself. Keep working on yourself,
Absolutely.
upskilling yourself, and make best use of the exposure which you are getting in the corporate. Like, this is the very valid point. Like, to be very frank, and I would admit that even in my previous organization when I left, I used to feel that where I am stuck, I need to change the job. But changing the job was not the solution. Rather, changing my mindset was the solution. That I need to adjust, I need to explore, I need to network with people. Then only I'll be able to, adjust at a new place. So I think it was a pretty good, valuable conversation which I had with you, Reshma. And thank you so much for coming on such a short notice. And you are being such an helping hand for the people who are looking out for the career change, career transition. And you have given so much of value bomb here. And I'm glad you came, and I'm really delighted.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking about something that is not usually communication. It was
Correct.
really a fresh change of pace for me, and I'm glad that I can help because I think it's important to make the right kind of decision. Right? I've known the value of it in the last 10 years, and I would definitely want people to make better informed choices. So, if I was able to help in any way, I am happy. Thank you for
Yeah,
having
yeah,
me, Aditi.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.